Today is Friday, March 1st. Happy March, everybody.
Yes,
Um,
time
we
to
are in the third year of doing this. March of 2021 is the 3-year anniversary of us fighting this mess. Well, actually, this was about the same time 3 years ago that we actually identified that this was happening. It was when we started to do our research on what was happening. It was the very first articles that came out towards the end of this month, and we're putting together a little video to go over how some of that really didn't age very well. Um, so we'll be doing a little bit more on that. Um, Carol, due to the childlike voices in the
Yeah.
commercial that's coming, I know I do. I like that commercial too. So we have a few serious things we want to talk about, and there's a lot of things that are happening at this point, and so we're trying to get as many people out to stand with DC37 retirees. So here's what's happening. We can finally kind of talk about a little bit of this since we were able to get into it this week, and it's important for you all to know. Our organization is in draft of a response that we will put out next week, and that will address our position in what's happened. As you understand, last week, there was a lot of speculation regarding District Council 37 Retirees Association. The articles that came out had talked about, and the emails that we got from AFSCME International regarding DC 37 retirees not having filed taxes for 6 years. Through the information that has come out so far through official channels, because that's what you always want to wait for, as I asked you to please wait before you pass judgment, and this was the reason why. So DC 37 Retirees has a treasurer. They also have an accountant. And the accountant, according to the organization, was given all of their financial paperwork to file their 990s every year timely. Also, the DC 37 Retirees was in person physically staffing their office at a skeleton crew during COVID. This was a lot for people to do during a time of a pandemic, to make sure that retirees who do not use internet or email, some still have flip phones, some who don't have electronic phones and still have landlines, no computers, still had access to address issues of their membership. They are a 20,000 something person retiree organization of paid dues paying members. So where does that story go? I encourage you to read all the stories that are out there. The city put one out, Focus put one out, the chief leader put one out. I will see if I can get all of the links if they're not posted to the Facebook page. I have not been on the Facebook for a couple days, but I want you to know that this is this story that we are being told through an official channel of DC 37 retirees. They process their paperwork. This has nothing to do with them not doing their taxes. It is our reverent belief as theirs that this happened because they supported this organization's fight on their Medicare Advantage. And they are not the only organization that went through this. They're actually the third organization that went through this. The first organization would be the UFT retirees. As many of you are familiar because you go to those meetings, you usually get attacked by the UFT. Mr. Murphy usually talks all over you. Mr. Mulgrew doesn't allow you to speak. Remember, we did the video where I put duct tape on my mouth. He narrowed down your thousands of members to speak to only 15 minutes. That is trying to silence you. That is preventing you from speaking out against something that you don't agree with, yet he's still demanding loyalty. The second organization that had experienced this was Transit Workers Local 100 Retirees Association. That is considered another subordinate organization of the union. And the union president has had a practice, and I believe it might even be in their bylaws, to put in place the retiree president. So the Retirees Association serves at the will of the union. So this then becomes another organization where the Retiree Association president was removed because he disagreed with the Medicare Advantage plan being forced onto people and did not understand why the retirees were not supporting this. When there was pushback from the TWU 100 Retirees Association, there was that shakeup there. And the president of the union took the position, well, even that president of the Retirees Association was in a Medicare Advantage plan, so he shouldn't be complaining about the plan he's in it. But what the uneducated leadership of some unions was saying was that just because it's perfect for one person, it should be perfect for all of you. And that's not the case. And we know that. And they should know better. However, that was your second retiree association that was being stifled. They wanted to silence any opposition into what they were doing. Now we have DC37 Retirees. Where did that start? It didn't start over taxes. It actually started in June. If some of you who are DC37 Retirees members remember, in June, we had mentioned that DC37 Retirees was making a $2,000 a month donation to this organization to support its legal fight. That said, the president of the DC37 Retirees, Bob Gervasi, and the executive board received a letter from AFSCME International stating that they supporting this organization was in violation of the AFSCME International Constitution because they were supporting a competing organization within the jurisdiction of the union, DC37, as well as we were an antagonistic labor organization interfering in union business, is what we were told. We were told that in June. They were also threatened that if they didn't stop their donations to this cause, that they would put them into administratorship. And they did. So what happened in between June and now that precipitated this? The executive board met, did an investigation of what they were being told they could not do, realized that they are living to the mission of their organization's constitution, which was to support and protect improve retiree health benefits. And their membership was urging them to support this litigation to protect their ability to stay in their traditional Medicare and city supplement. The board took then a vote, and it was a majority that agreed to continue to support this organization's litigation on behalf of everybody, including them. And the payments continued and went retroactive to July from when they originally ceased. After those checks had cleared, a couple weeks passed by, they all get a letter, and AFSCME International had, I think it was 8 people, staffers, that stormed the DC37 Retirees office, took control of the office, including their building, which was their rental office space, tried to take the cell phones away from the staffers, and those were their personal cell phones, scared the bejesus out of them because they were intimidated and threatened by the actions of these AFSCME International workers. To the point, as Mr. Frumpkin from DC37 Retirees advised in one of the comments, that she is still dealing from mental stress from what was done at the day that they stormed that office. And then gives them a letter with no charges published against them, and just told them that it was over financial records. How did that come about? How did they end up finding out that there was this taxes? They actually knew about it. During the investigation, the board was taking to discuss continuing to donate to our organization. They asked our organization for their 990. Our organization had been working with our tax attorney and filed our organization as a 501c3 originally. Because we were in COVID when this organization started, it had taken IRS a very long time to start to process our organizational document, the 1023 to become a nonprofit 501c3. By the time the IRS finally got around to us, I think it was 9-12 months later, and they said that they did not determine that we would be a 501c3, that they felt we would probably be better off as a 501c5 an organization, which made us non-taxable but not deductible. We had to rescind our 501c3 application and reapply as a 501c5, of which our tax attorney did do that. That application went in last year. When we had to file our 990, which is our organization's tax return, The first, the return that was done for 2022, we filed an extension, and that 990 was filed in November. And when you file them, they go up online. They're on the IRS website. They could be looked up. There goes your public because you're a nonprofit organization. That is how, when we spoke with the tax attorney, and gave the 990 to DC37 Retirees Association and their accountant, Mr. DiCarlo, who is the accountant that was under the understanding was doing their taxes. They came back that they had a question about our 990, and they had a question about something that we had checked off and wanted to know if we were properly using our lobbying expenses for political purposes or not political purposes because we were considered a 501c3. I asked the tax attorney to look at the documents. She reviewed them and then realized that they actually pointed out to us a mistake in our 990. People are human. This is why we always say, to err is human. It's totally fine. Just fix the mistake and let's move on. We don't hang people for making mistakes. So the accountant fixed the 990 with the acknowledgement of the tax attorney and resubmitted it. And we then sent a correction to DC37 Retirees Board, who was reviewing our 990s, to hopefully continue the donations to us. With that, our attorney, because DC37 Retirees, and many of you who are DC37 Retirees remember that meeting where me and Mr. Gervasi were exchanging a little bit of heated words, where he was accusing us of not providing him financials, which we did provide him a financial from our organization. It's just we had filed an extension to late file it, and we filed it in November. Having given him the 990, now the corrected one, he didn't want it from me. He wanted it from someone that was more official than me. So we had our tax lawyer write him and his accountant and the board and provide him a copy of our document. When she wrote in the letter, she wanted to know his official name. I was like, I didn't know the name of the organization. I just called it DC37 Retirees. So she also wanted to know if they were a 501c3 or a 501c5. We're on the phone talking while she's trying to draft this letter to send it to them. And she notices that there was a revocation on the screen for DC37 Retirees for not having filed their taxes for 6 years. She wrote them a letter saying, thank you for pointing out our mistake. We have that corrected. When it is returned to us from the IRS, we will send you the corrected 990. In the meantime, while preparing this official letter to you, she found that there's a revocation for their taxes, for their non-profitable status on the IRS website. The IRS website does happen to say that it is not up to date and that they are behind schedule in updating it, that the information on the screen might not be accurate. Please check into it. And that was her advice to them. You might want to look into this just in case. And then gave them the documents in the email. So that was January. And then this happened in February. So once the DC37 retirees knew that there was a problem, they were addressing it. They were looking into it. And that's when we found out that the retirees had been working with their accountant, the same one that was on that email, to us and our tax lawyer about this. So this is why now you can understand that we're drawing these lines to say to them, first you threaten them in June to say that this was done. The bad things will happen if you keep supporting these retirees litigation. Doesn't mention anything about taxes or anything, but then threatens to penalize them for supporting litigation to protect their own health care. And when the board votes to resume donations to this organization's litigation, puts them into administratorship and removes all of them basically forcefully. So there's two things here. One, we're going to do a rally. Well, actually, they're doing the rally. We are all going to attend their rally. It is Wednesday, March 6th at 11 a.m., and it will start at 75 Maiden Lane. I encourage you all to show up and stand with retirees in solidarity. The second thing is, if you are a DC37 retiree and you are a dues-paying DC37 retiree, you are entitled to participate in that meeting. in the hearing that will be conducted, because they were ordered to a judicial panel that will investigate this whole thing. And those retirees have to actually attend via Zoom. It will be at 10 a.m. on March 18th. So I'm going to encourage all DC37 retirees to reach out to Ms. Sean Plum, and her email address is S as in Sean, or Sam, S as in Sam, Plum, Plum, at apsme.org. And don't worry, we will put this in a post, and we can even put it in the chat, but I will make sure it's posted. S as in Sam, Plum, Plum, at apsme.org. You are going to write to her and give her your name and tell her you are a DC37 retiree and you want to be on the DC37 Retirees judicial hearing on March 18th. She will then send you a letter that has the rules that govern this judicial panel, which require that you be on Zoom, you not be driving, you not be walking, you must be on your video at all times, and you must not be disrupting anything. They will also be giving anyone that wishes to speak an opportunity after testimony from the executive board has been given. And then within 30 days, the judicial panel will render a decision whether or not to continue the administratorship or to return them to their duties. And we are hoping that they will return them to their duties. Gary, I can't tell you about TWU Local 100. I don't have that organization's governing bylaws, and I don't know if they're fighting back on that. I do know that that TWU Local 100 retirees started their own chapter separate from TWU 100 RA. And to fight this case because the people that were put in charge of the TW 100 Retiree Association were basically being guided by the union. When Mr. Tutrone, who was the original Retiree Association leader, pushed back on being forced into this Etna Medicare Advantage plan, he was removed. And to my knowledge, their executive board, didn't fight back. They are also paid. And I think there is a fear there. And it's the same constant fear that we hear that union presidents have from Henry Garrido of DC37, that they are fearful of his retaliation. I received another call today from another union president wanting to speak out because they disagree with what he's doing, but they don't because they're fearful of Henry Garrido. So I can't really answer what they will do. I'm sure that they're working on trying to figure out what to do. For the DC37 retirees, that's the one I can answer for right now, okay? I strongly encourage you. I want to see a sea of retirees standing in solidarity with them, because if they shut up one of us, they shut us all up. And we should not stand for that. So please email splum@apsme.org, ask to attend that meeting, the judicial hearing for DC37 retirees on March 18th, and then follow those instructions to participate in that so that you can watch that process. Okay. The last thing I have is many of you have been receiving letters from Presbyterian, Weill Cornell, and Etna. If you are in the Etna plan right now, and some of you are, if you are in the Etna plan, you are receiving a letter from Presbyterian and Weill Cornell this week saying that if they cannot negotiate a contract by March 31, that your provider, and sometimes for some of you, it's your long time primary care doctor or your specialist, will no longer be in the Etna network as of April 1. So we also want you to know that we're aware of those letters. We have several of them. They've been given to the attorneys. They've been given to the attorneys in the transit workers case as well. We're aware and we're watching. So thank you for sharing those letters with us. Jerry says, does anyone see a similarity between the actions discussed on the coercive, thuggish, and intimidation? Yes, we do. It is now apparent that some union leadership are aware that the Etna network is not as big as they said it was. That's coming soon as well. The active worker under 65 retiree plan, since there's a bunch of you in here that are under 65. You're aware that are two finalists in that RFP, Etna and a alliance between Emblem Health and United Healthcare. There's still no movement on that. They decided to ask them some more questions. There was a split decision on what to do. Either the unions, I think, wanted Emblem and the city wanted Etna. When the unions became aware that Etna's network wasn't as big as they said it was, or I think the city agreed. So one of the parties did not like that the network was not as large, and they then were trying to decide what to do. Mr. Scheinman, I'm sure you all remember that, who he is, the arbitrator. Mr. Scheinman asked the parties if they can come to a resolution. Parties could not. They were on opposite sides. So then they said, would you be willing to split the baby? Michelle and I could tell you we absolutely despise that term, but that's exactly what they were asked to do. What about just offering choice? Remember that the RFP was meant to have a savings of 10% in cost to the city, which was a $1 billion savings. To the understanding of the parties, when they went back to the insurance companies to say what would happen if we were to not give you the entire book of business, but split it between you both, the savings could not meet the $1 billion. Well, and there's a couple reasons for that, but I'm not going to get into that here. So when they told them that they couldn't each give them guarantee $1 billion worth of savings, then there was some back and forth about further questions, and we're waiting to see what will happen with that. In the meantime, Empire filed litigation against the city of New York, naming all of the insurance companies that were through the RFP process. Reason being is because they're being accused supposedly, because we can't really tell you because they've sealed the docket. You can't see any of the documents, that it's basically about the city moving the benchmark all the time, constantly moving the parameters of what the RFP was for. First, it was supposed to be the entire book of business. Now it's splitting everything up, and it just didn't make any sense. So this is, I guess, just a bunch of scorpions eating scorpions at this point. We'll figure out what that will be when it finally comes out. But it was very interesting to hear that they are aware that the Etna network does not encompass nationwide from sea to shining sea the way that we had been saying now for almost 2 years. Jody has a question. Last week I asked this group, is supporting the Retiree Alliance and their agenda. Michelle said she didn't know, and I was asking. I emailed the agenda that was posted on another board. Jody, I haven't seen that agenda, and I don't know who the Retiree Alliance is. We've supported, if you're talking about the retiree advocate, we posted their information here just to help them get their retired teachers organized, to help them with their mission. I'm not familiar that they have a political platform. They are supporting traditional Medicare and the rights that were promised to you as a retiree. I'm not aware of anything else. So for this week, I'm going to strongly ask all of you to make a concerted effort to please be at 75 Maiden Lane on Wednesday, March 6th at 11 a.m. in solidarity. Bring your signs with you that you have, and make new signs if you want. This will be a protest against DC37 and AFSCME in support of the DC37 retirees. No one should do to retired persons who built this city and built these unions, built our own union, treated like this. So it's very upsetting for us to be watching this, because we know that the only reason that happened to them is because they supported the litigation that only this organization had the courage to file and continue to fight. So for them, we stand with them. Jody, I'll have Michelle look at whatever, if you didn't send me anything, because I know I do not remember seeing what you're saying. And I've been through my email twice today as well, but I don't know what you said you
Go through
sent.
it again. I'll go through it again.
David says they are spitting mad. They thought pushing Medicare Advantage was going to be a breeze. They never imagined this resistance. And let me, Anita Morgenstern, Wednesday, 11 a.m., 75 Maiden Lane. Don't worry, I'll post the flyer up on the website again, and I'll email it out. What did I want to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, the reason why active workers are not following that this is a diminishment. We were sent another video last night that I've been tearing apart now for like 10 hours. Union presidents are being sold this by management as an enhancement. They're not given a contract to read. They're not told anything other than it's an enhancement and it has benefits that they don't currently have now. It's an improvement. They'll like it. It has silver sneakers. They can get a gym pass and they can get free rides and they can get meals when they come out of the doctor. It's wonderful. And it doesn't affect you. You're not 65. It affects them. So don't worry about it. Just ratify the contract and take your sign-on bonus. I'm looking at this video and no one is picking up. Don't worry, this doesn't affect you. This only affects those that are 65. To them, their union leader told them, you don't need to look here. This doesn't affect you. It affects them. They don't identify that they're not them or worried about them. This one union president even went so far as to say, my father retired out of this location. I would not do something to hurt my father. Mike, Henry, Harry, New York City retirees should not be treated like submissive, docile, pissed on doormat. I know, Jerry. So, yeah, you're exactly right. UFT never hands out a contract to members to review before voting. And we should not be voting on anything without seeing the contracts. Not only did they not see the contract, they never even read the health contract. William, thank you for the explanation about nonprofits. I met with a few retirees for lunch Wednesday and this subject came up. I was asked and could not answer about our organization's 990s. I'll send you an email after this live to one of those I lunched with. He used to be Housing Authority's Director of Personnel. He did not know that not all nonprofits were tax deductible contributions. Yeah, so you have several different 501c designations. There's C3, there's C4, there's C5. There's plenty of, several of them. And I believe it's only the C3 that is tax deductible and tax exempt. A C5 is literally what your unions are. Unions are C5s. But it could be an agricultural organization or a labor organization. We are a quasi-labor type organization. We're an organization. So we're still pending that approval for the C5 by the IRS, which would make us tax exempt, not tax deductible. So the tax exempt part means if we were to purchase something, we don't pay a tax per se, but yeah, not tax deductible. So you can't technically write it off. If you do, I'm sure the IRS would be at your doorstep if they ever audited you or asked you for proof, which is why we don't send out a tax deductible statement because we're not tax deductible. But thank you, William. That exactly explains it. This has been a road because we submitted that application. I want to say it was probably in November. We had to file our our 990 taxes by November 15th. We were literally up to like midnight with our tax attorney and the accountant and getting everything done. So this is literally like, you know, I don't know, running a major corporation at this point. And then because we are a very large organization, that created some more havoc. We just couldn't file a simple, easy form. It had to be this gigantor document with a million questions. Camille D, what an insult to the active's intelligence. Glad that guy's not my son. Gary, exactly what active members were told during TWU's last contract. Gary, yes, actually, I'll be totally honest and transparent with you. That was a TWU Local 100 video that I was breaking down. If you follow Two Transit Misfits on YouTube or Facebook, they invited me to their chat this past Monday, and we will now be doing a 2-hour break it down video interview with transit retirees on this coming Monday evening. So they're called Two Transit Misfits. They're wonderful gentlemen. We had a pleasant evening going through some of this. They were on the other side. They thought we were all crazy when this happened. After listening to everything, this is some time ago, watching what was happening in our case, they actually recognized that we were telling the truth. So they invited the Transit Retiree Organization, TW100R, to their podcast and asked me to join them. And we live streamed that. I actually put the link in our Facebook page and on my page. And I think this time we might be able to live stream it right into Facebook this week. It'll be Monday night. I think it's from like 7 to 9. That's because we used to be able to trust, yeah, our unions. I know. Marcia Biederman, Retiree Advocate does have a platform very against Medicare Advantage. Go to retireeadvocate.org. Okay. Joanne, sorry to say your younger members see the money and nothing else. UFT has been giving back for years. When I told the members to look into it, they would ignore me. Yeah, there's an old phrase for that. It's called a carrot and a stick. They dangle the carrot, which is usually the sign-on bonus, and then they whack you with the stick when you realize it didn't give you what you wanted it to do. And for example, one of the first retirees, Michelle can tell you, her retiree band of retirees in 2016, was it? The UFT negotiated a contract that set the pattern citywide. It was the very first time that if you were retired and your contract settled after the fact, if you were not still on payroll when the contract was signed,
Right, in between contracts.
you lost your retro.
Yep.
That's
That was
why
great.
now you watch what happens, because in this contract, the provision is still there. It's still in place. If you retire, and OLR said this the other day, if they're expecting a huge wave of retirees after July, because everyone's waiting for the retro to kick in July, and then they're all going to go put in their retirement papers. You watch.
Right. And yeah, and I got screwed, right? Because I was in between the contract. And yeah, so they sold out the retirees. So I
Please
didn't
come
get
to
my
the New York.
retro. Yep. And
Please come to the New York City Correction Retiree Party on May 3rd at the Green Tree Country Club in New Rochelle. The retirees would love to see you all and let Benny Baccio know we're tired of his bullshit. I'll consider that, Joy. Hi, Yolanda. Any movement on getting city council to pass our legislation? No, Ellen. I retired out of contract 2003, no retro UFT. Yeah, Janice, that's all stinky. And so, yeah, I was just looking to see,
I pressed him for his opinion, I reviewed the law. Without that craniotomy, Kate may have had a chance. Surgeons make calls. That's the job. Sometimes we lose people.
okay. And so we're gonna go, I don't have my numbers in front of me. For some reason, my email's not opening, but I will update the thermometer. I think I forgot to post a picture this week. I will do that this weekend. And to let you know, continue to donate. Keep those coming in. We're getting ready for oral arguments on March 21st with our attorneys. We still do not have a time to be there yet officially, but just keep that day open. If not, we will, as we get closer. Court does open at 2:00. However, we are last on the docket. I was watching today some of the hearings, going through some of them as I had to pick out one case I had to report back on. And one to note that each case is about 40 minutes ish each. And so it could be a couple hours before our turn is up. And then we're only there for about a half hour ourselves, and we are still on the docket last. That has not changed. So just keep the afternoon open after 2 p.m., and after. We will let you know. If we are first on the docket, we will probably have you show up at court for 1:45 p.m. because the court doors do open at 2. If we are last on the docket and we're not moved to the higher up on the docket, we will suggest to you that you show up a little bit later so that you're not just sitting around and hanging around the city if you don't want to be there. But just keep March 21 open on your calendar. So that's all I've got for announcements, and I want to thank you guys for supporting us and doing what you're doing, because you can definitely see it doesn't come without a cost, as the DC37 retirees can surely tell you that, and TWU Local 100 retirees can tell you, and UFT retirees can tell you. So that's why we're choosing to support people that are choosing to support retired union members. We are retired unionists. We are retired labor. We support our fellow retirees. We built this city. We built our unions. And after 9/11, you hear me say, we've rebuilt our city. You guys went back to work when people weren't coming back to work. Some of you live in the zone. Many of you had to go into offices that were not clean, and you had to deal with exposures to contaminants. And today, many of you are sick. It is up to fight for us, because there is nobody that's going to fight for us except us. So I hope you guys in your heart see what's happening to DC37 retirees. Please show up on Wednesday. It's super important to see all of you there. We should stand in solidarity and a big wall. I don't want to call this like a blue wall or a red wall. We are a retiree wall. So show up. DC37's colors are green. Wear green. Wear something green, a green hat, a green scarf, a green something. Wear green in solidarity with DC37 retirees. And 75 Maiden Lane, 11 a.m. on Wednesday, March 6th. Keep those donations coming. Get your friends to donate to the organization. Let them know what happens. There's that saying that that when you don't show up for people, it's so eloquent, and I wish I could remember it off the top of my head, but I can't, that, when other groups need you and you're not there for them, when it's time for you to need someone to have your back, no one will be there for you. So keep that in mind as we go through these fights, that we should be standing in solidarity and supporting one another. That way it's reciprocated when we need it. So, you have anything you want to add?
Nope. No, thank you, everybody out there. Thanks, moderators, and again, everybody out there in Zoom land. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So that's it.
Thank you to the moderators for everything that you guys do and keeping order on our Facebook page. And you all have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
With the weather, and stay safe, and
All right, guys. Have a great night. Ciao.